morning to you. Thank you so much for being part of Why in the Morning. My name is Ram Aguko. It is a pleasure being with you on this fine Monday morning. And I hope that you're well. Welcome back. If at all you're just joining us, thank you so much for sticking with us. This is Why in the Morning, right here on Y254 TV, your #1 youth station. We're coming to you live from the broadcasting house here in Nairobi, Kenya. Also streaming live through our website. That's at www.kbc.co.ke/Y254. Engage with us. We value your feedback. This is all about youth and politics. And today we want to talk about transformational leadership. What is transformational leadership? Who is a transformational leader? And when we talk about these particular issues there, that this big word that you can see written here, this big word here, what does it mean? Are we considering this word during this coming election? When you talk about this political party or that political party, do we have this kind of a leader in the ballot? This is a conversation we need to have, even as we talk about matters concerning leadership. And I have a fantastic panel, ladies and gentlemen. To my far right, I am with Kangondu Jr. He is a counseling psychologist. And of course, next to me, I am with Kathleen Mureithi, a research scientist. Karibuni sana.
Asante sana.
Uko salama sana?
Tuko salama kabisa.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And of course, engage with us. Let us know what you think about this particular issue. The hashtag as always is Why in the Morning at Ram Aguko and at Y254 channel, which is the official station handle. And of course, let us know where you're watching us from. Okay, let's engage about this. And of course, you can ask your questions. Feel free to share your opinion in regards to these matters concerning transformational leadership. And before we get into the nitty-gritties, first things first, Kangodu, it's been a while since we met.
Oh yes, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Tell us how you're doing, and for somebody who is just meeting you for the first time, something a bit more about what you do.
Yes, thank you so much, Ram. Happy to be back here. My good name is Kagondo Jr. From Mindcare Africa, and also working with my good friend Kathleen and the future leaders, GBR, Kenyan chapter. I'm a counseling psychologist.
Mention GBR.
GBR, Business Roundtable.
Global Business Roundtable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where she's the chair and I'm the vice chair. The Future Leaders Kenyan chapter. Okay. So under her leadership, we're doing some amazing work on issues to do with transformational leadership, and also working and supporting young people to grow in a holistic way. I'm a counseling psychologist and also a transformational coach, helping people to negotiate life stages from one level to the other, and also manage life issues as they come about. Earlier on we had talked about, is it that there are so many challenges, or is it that people don't have the mechanism and the ways to deal with the issues? And the truth of the matter is most of them are not equipped, and that's where we are there to heal nations and transform lives. Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
A bit more about what you do for somebody who's meeting you for the first time today.
Okay, all right. So my name is Kathleen Mureithi. I tend to think of myself as a thinker of my generation and one of Africa's most forefront young leaders.
When you mentioned that that statue
Yes.
of the thinker, you know that?
Yes,
In the
yes,
US,
exactly, yes, yes,
the person that comes
yes,
from
yes, yes, exactly, yes. I'm very passionate about how young people are using their ingenuity combined with an excess of technology to champion innovative solutions that solve global challenges and also accelerate the economies of the world.
Wow.
Yes.
And of course, thank you so much for coming, and I appreciate your presence.
Yes.
Let's talk about what a transformational leader is, and I'll get both your opinions in regards to this particular terminology.
Yes.
Because yes, you're talking about a transformational leader, and for someone who is listening, they're like, kizungu mingi.
Kweli.
Kizungu mingi. What is this transformational leader by definition, in your own words?
Okay, so I'll go by the word itself, the word transform. So to transform something is to influence something in one or another. It could be in a negative aspect, or it could be in a positive aspect. But if you're looking at it from a positive spectrum, transformational leadership is the ability to influence or to provoke positive change within the societal structure. So we're looking at systems that are already in place, but you have identified gaps that need to be changed for the betterment of the expected outcome. I'll give an example with our very own transformational leader, Kibaki. During his tenure, we were able to see the adoption of the Constitution. And it is from the practical aspect of that Constitution and in its status of play that we were able to see other transformational leaders coming into existence and borrowing from that and being very confident into explaining or disseminating information that they feel members of the society could consume in one way or another. Yes.
All right, Kangodu, your definition of transformational leader.
Yeah, I like what she's saying. And transformational leadership is not just about the position, because every other person can be a leader by the mere fact that they're in that position. But they're merely doing nothing about, transforming their lives and also changing their lives. And I'm thinking of John Maxwell when he takes us through the stages and the levels of leadership. Not only the level, the position, but also getting to think on the performance, the relationship with those that they are guiding and are walking through with, and also more so changing their lives. The thing is, yes, we have leaders, but they don't have visions. And the question is, if they don't have a vision, will they be able to, help us to get to where we want? And the thing is, it's not only having the vision, but also having the means and mechanisms of getting us there, right? And this is where Kathleen is talking about. When this particular position, or you're a leader in a certain segment, are you able to mold other leaders? Because we have seen so many gaps. When one's regime is over and done with, we don't have people who are coming up, people that can be able to take their position. And no wonder we get to hear, say, during the burials of a prominent person, and especially the leaders, we can't fit in their shoes. But the question is, were they able to actually mold and ensure that they're able to help others transform to the kind of a leader that they want?
That they want. And thereby leading to a transition from one leader to another that is smooth.
Precisely. And that's very important, because we have seen the gap. And no wonder we go for the who is who, or Tom, Dick, and Harry, in the village, by the mere fact that we are related by blood, or even we share the same neighborhood. And this is not that they have quality leadership styles, And this is why we say this is our son, all right? And when we have such as a qualifying factor for these leaders, then we go wrong. So that means the needs of this particular community, society, are not going to be met.
And sorry to cut you short, but I'm looking at the Kenyan setup, and of course we're going to connect this with the Kenyan youth, because the majority of voters are the youth.
Absolutely.
And we agree that if the youth know what they're doing, then they'll vote for the right people. When it comes to a transformational leader, how can you pick out a particular transformational leader from the rest? Is it possible? Yes, we've seen them being in office for so many years, and some are fresher. Some are fresh, because during these coming elections, we have fresh faces that are coming out. How can you pick out a transformational leader from the crowd and make the right decision?
I think it also boils down to an individual understanding of what leadership is, even before we even get to what a transformational leader is. And leadership, to me, is both an art and a science. You need to have a certain talent for you to be able to influence a crowd towards a certain dimension. But you also need to have certain techniques that you will use to influence this change that you want to see in the community. So as youths, we need to look at it from that point. There's so many people who can be leaders. You are a leader in your own fort. But are you able to influence people towards the change that they want to see in their own community? So now this is where Kagondi is talking about the gaps. Okay, is it in the policies? Is it in the advocacy issues? Is it in the institutional frameworks? Is it in the regulations?
And are those the things that can pick out who a transformational leader can be?
Yes.
The manifestos and the
yes.
policies.
If you look at the examples of transformational leaders that we have, most of them are very quiet. They're not people who will go out and shout, I am going to do this and do. You look at their actions. At the end of the day, action speaks louder. What have they done in their own fort? So that now you can actually magnify that into how they are going to impact the change once they become the leaders that they want to become, or the positions that they want to take. You look at it from what have they done so far.
So the past influences the future
Not
in this
entirely.
case?
Not entirely. It is the achievements, the lessons, the growth. Everyone has a past. But what have you achieved from your experiences in the past? What are the lessons that you have picked? How have you applied that in your daily life? And can we see the progression? That is something that youths should be able to look at it at that keenly, because it is from that point that they are able to say, this is a transformational leader. This is because there's so many types of leaders, so many styles. We have the autocratic leadership. You talked about servant leadership. There's the strategic leadership. There's democracy that we have in Kenya, which is very participatory and consultative. But is that on paper? Do we see it on the ground? Even as we talk about transformational leadership, is it just words? Do we see it on the ground? The leaders that we have, do they have the potential to be transformational leaders? Because you can't start, when you talk about there are so many people that are coming up to vie for these positions. Does that mean that we did not have transformational leadership before? Yeah. Do we need to look at it from an aspect of capacity building? Do we need to train them? Do we need to increase the knowledge base on what leadership is all about? Because it is from that point that we will be able to understand these gaps.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, and I like that, and especially because what we are seeing today, you know, when you talk about new faces in the arena, we've seen there's a lot of showbiz in the whole spectrum. You know, we have seen people walking to the street, down in the streets, taking photos, selfies with the mama mbogas and all that, yeah, in the name of serving these people, right? And the question is, was there before, right? And this is where Kathleen is talking about. It has to start with the individual first, even before you come to the limelight.
And could it be that you are also transforming these mama mbogas that you're taking photos with, as you're giving them handouts, as you're giving them some tokens, you know, something to inspire their businesses in one way or the other?
You know, the question is, what happens after that? You know, is it just for the mere fact that you want to be seen? You know, is it just for the likes and also for the followership? Or no? And we have seen so many leaders who come for that particular occasion, you know, when they're looking for the votes and all that, right? But then after they get into the offices, they get those positions, you see them at the end of their term, you know, coming back to ask you, can you get me back to the office? And I'm going to do A, B, C, D. But they never deliver. And the question is, when they're doing those photos, when they're going to the mama mbogas, giving them 100 bobs, 500 bob, do they have the desire and also the interest of these people at heart, you know, or is it just a personal interest to ensure that they are showing that they are doing something? And like where I come from, I've seen roads that have not been done for the longest time possible, and that has been one of the things that they used to do the campaigns. You know, every other person is coming down saying that I'm going to tarmac this place, I'm going to like pipe water to these homesteads, we are going to get electricity. But this it has been done since time immemorial. So what we lack is people who actually mean their words, do what they mean. You know?
And you see, even as you talk about people who lack, who don't do what they are saying, still can't do, because we are talking about promises being made and nothing being delivered in some instances. Now, does it mean being a transformational leader can be challenging even if someone is?
Yes, there's a dark side to transformational leadership. Why?
Dark?
Yeah, there's a dark side to everything, basically. Most transformational leaders always begin with the end in mind. They don't look at the minor details. I see myself building a road. I see myself developing the infrastructure of this place. But do you have the right people to begin with? Do we have the right policies?
Who are you working with?
Yes. You're just looking at the bigger picture. But what is the roadmap?
Are resources part of it?
Yeah, resources are part of it. Key resources, key activities. What is your unique value proposition? How are you going to do things differently? So you're selling the bigger picture, but you're not selling the roadmap. So it becomes very difficult for people who are exposed, intellectuals. And that's another disadvantage to leadership. How do you stimulate the intellectuals? Because they know what you're talking about.
Is capacity building also part of this particular issue here?
It is. If the members of your community are not exposed to certain ideologies, if you're not stimulating them to certain intellectual capacities, how will they understand the roadmap? You'll tell them, I will build this school, but how is it benefiting them? I'm going to build this hospital. How is it benefiting them? You'll build the hospitals, but it's not going to be beneficial to them in the long run. They'll say the hospital, it will be just a building.
Because we've seen roads
that
are not built. I know places. There was a time I traveled to a particular area, and that road was pathetic. And I was asking myself this, what leader are we? What kind of a leader is this that is doing this? And I ended up asking myself so many questions. Is it about the leader or the people that the leader is working with on the resources? What could be the challenge here?
You know, when you talk about the vision and how to get there, that could be the main challenge. And I love the mere fact that you're looking at the resources and the people surrounding you. And this is where the thing to do with mentorship comes about. You know, you need to mold other young people or even people near you around your table to actually ensure that they also are able to, you know, transform and also deliver on the things that you promise to your people. You know, many of the times, like we are just about to get to the rainy season, you know, but the sad matter is that we also have people complain that, you know, they're being carried along by the floods and all that. Then immediately after that, there will be drought, you know. And the question is it that we are really that unequipped? We don't have the capacity to actually deliver in terms of even the food security and also the infrastructure. And when you get to hear about the famine, it's not that we don't have the rains or the waters. It's only that we don't have the right infrastructures. And this is where the leaders have to be very intentional in terms of meeting the needs of these particular people. So it's not just about building the roads or putting up a certain, you know, facility and all that. Do they meet the needs of these particular people? Because like you're saying, we can have some big buildings, you can have some very big resource centers, but they are actually of nothing. Those are just dead capital or rather funds that are just seated there without benefiting their people. And this is where they have to be really in touch with the needs of their people. You know, you don't have to be in the city. That's where your bedroom is, and you just show up in the village, all right, or where the people are for the name of just getting the votes or just showing that you're there. You know, you have to be in touch with the issues that are affecting your people.
So if you talk about being in touch, then transformational leadership, does it mean that it is not actually the best kind of leadership, or is it the best?
It's, in my own opinion, it is not. It is not. it's entirely. If it stands on its own, it is not.
If it stands on its own,
No,
transformational leadership.
It is not, because it makes the leader feel a certain way. Remember, the followers or the members of the community are borrowing from the vision of this transformational leader. So what happens if the members of this community do not buy into the vision? What happens?
Yeah, very true, because we have seen even those transformational leaders that you're talking about tending to apply the other types of leadership, you know, when there is need be, you know. So we can't say that entirely we have to be a transformational leader. But the thing is, are you aware when need be to actually portray a certain character in terms of the other leadership styles, you know? Because you can be so tender, you can be so soft, you can be a man of the people, but there are situations that require you to be, you know, hands-on, you know, and ensuring, instilling and also commanding, you know, like putting your foot forward to ensure that things happen, all right? So the thing is, are you able to dictate? Are you able to actually pick when there is need be to play these different roles? Yes.
A good example is what we call now the CAPS, County Action Plans. Was there public participation to say that Nairobi County, these are the pillars that we are going to implement? Do the youths know these things exist? When you say media and entertainment, that's one of the pillars. How are you impacting the youth in terms of media and entertainment? Do they even know? What are the channels that they need to use for them to be impacted? As a youth who's living in Nairobi County, what can I do? You see, now that's an ideology of a transformational leader. But are the youths buying into this vision? Do they have an idea of this, of the existence of this kind of thing? So you have to borrow from all kinds of leadership styles. There has to be the participatory approach, which now brings democracy into play. Sometimes you have to be autocratic. If they're in discipline, you have to be authoritative. This is how things are. This is what we need to do, and this is how I mean it when I say A, B, C, and D.
There's a time to apply one and not the other.
Yes.
All right. So if that is the case, it means transformational leadership standing on its own is going to be very challenging.
Yeah.
It's assuming that everything works in an idealistic way, right?
Yeah.
Now, if that's the case, what should somebody do when they're in a position where they do not understand the kind of a leader they are dealing with? You see, this kind of leader where you don't know their mind, yeah, you don't know what their next move could be. And of course, it's always hidden. It's always that hidden card that they play. That of course, you will only realize it when you are at that particular point and it's too late, and then it's already being played, that particular card. How then do you handle yourself in that particular point in time, when you're dealing with this particular leader? Now here we're talking about the point of view from the follower.
Yes, I think also to mention that most leaders have a personal vendetta. We cannot run away from that. You have to do a little research as an individual. You cannot be led by mass. You cannot just follow the crowd. What are your needs as an individual? What are the gaps? For example, as a youth, I am unemployed. Who is talking about the unemployment crisis in Kenya right now? Who's talking about how we are going to change the policies that affect MSMEs, people that are starting their businesses? Who's talking about the regulations, business law? Do youths understand business law? You started a business, unauza pale mai choma. Do you understand the laws that govern the kind of business that you're doing? Do we have leaders that educate youths about this?
At an individual basis, a level, understand that person, do research on that particular person.
Connect with your needs. Because it is only then will you be able to identify with this person. Why is everyone talking about this leader who's, am I allowed to say the name?
No problem.
Wajakoya. Why are you so passionate about this person? Have you read his manifesto? I haven't come across it, but so many people are very passionate about this leader. Why? He's able
so here we have different leaders.
Yeah.
And just to mention, for example, if it is him, he has stood out in a particular area, and that's what makes him to be a subject of conversation.
Yes. There is a need he has identified, and he has capitalized on that.
And so have the areas. For if Wajakoya is weed, Ruto is hustlers.
Yes.
That's what you're talking about here.
But now the thing is, there's no rationalism there. We're all looking at it from an emotional perspective. And that's where we go wrong as a people.
And from the leader side, they
capitalize on that. Yeah, they capitalize on that. It's very easy for you to sell emotions. It's very easy. And if I see that this is what you're desperate about, I'm going to sell it, even if I don't see any value from it. And that is what these leaders are doing. So it is for us as youths to rationalize everything. Let's look at things from a logical perspective. In the next 5 years, how will this leader impact my life? And again, as I say, research. Where do I want to be in the next 5 years? Then marry your perspectives together with this leader.
Yeah, I like it when you bring that element of emotions, because emotions actually makes things happen. And if you're able to touch the emotions of the followers and all that, they're really able to connect with you as a leader. And you see, the followers from the other end, we always complain that the leadership, the government is doing nothing, absolutely nothing in terms of our civic duty, in terms of getting to enlighten us. But it's very important for us to understand that we also have a mandate, a responsibility individually to ensure that we get empowered, right? And this is when we say that there's a possibility of having a leader with no portfolio, or even we can be able to pick what they have done. See what is happening once they get their leeway or their certificate, to contest in a certain seat. We are seeing the media houses putting out a portfolio, meaning that everybody has a footprint that they have left behind, something that they have done before, right? And more so, this is why we need to really be aware of the people that we have and are placing on those positions. Because you can't tell me that my area MP is someone that I can't do some homework on, This is somebody that I have a hearsay, though we can't rely that only, but you can be able to pick where they have been, what have they done. Before most of these leaders get into the political arena, they could be in the corporate world or even in a certain institution. What has been the history?
Now let's talk about that particular part, the history. What has been the history? Is it right or okay for a leader to get offended? Because some do get offended when you question them on what they've done in the past. You say, but you did this, you cannot deliver. If you did this in the past, then you cannot do this in the future. And they get offended. They're like, oh, this guy, he's fighting me. He's fighting me. And that's the notion.
Everybody wants to defend themselves and ensure that they get to that position. But the thing is, you can't tell me that I'm going to perform and yet my track record is not showing the same, right? And this is why we say everybody leaves a footprint, everywhere they get to. And this is why we get to hear someone was in a certain parastatal, they